Hello, and welcome to October's episode of the Making History podcast presented by Pin Cut Sew Studio. My name is Betsy Ross, and this is my co-host, Girl with a Pearl Earring. Just kidding. My name is Nikki, and my magnanimous co-host and my daughter is Layla.
I am Layla.
So if you're watching the video version of this episode, you can see that we have dressed up in honor of it being October. What?
Sorry, I can't look at you without laughing.
Okay, Layla, would you like to describe my costume for the audio-only listeners?
So, she has a American flag printed out and taped onto a pencil.
What kind of American flag?
It is the OG, the 1776 version.
Mm.
It sounds like a
The
Taylor
colonial
album.
American flag.
The colonial American flag.
Sounds like a Taylor.
It does sound like a Taylor album. It is taped to a pencil, and she's wearing a blue blouse and very frilly apron.
This is called a mop cap.
And a mop
head.
cap. It looks like a mop.
I think I look the part, honestly.
You very much look the part. I was not expecting.
Okay, let me describe yours. Layla has been told in the past she actually looks like Girl with the Pearl Earring. Who painted that? Uh-oh. The art pro doesn't know. She is wearing a blue headband, pearl earrings, and some semblance of a yellow scarf with her yellow shirt. She actually does really look like Girl with Pearl Earring.
Thanks.
Even if I didn't know you were dressing as that, I would have gotten it right.
Johannes Vermeer.
Oh, a Vermeer. So we tried to...
Oh, a Vermeer.
Didn't mean it like that. We tried to be October-y. This is not a Halloween episode, but there is a creepy, or a macabre, I should say, element to this episode topic.
We should have been Poe characters.
That would have been really fun.
I could be the beating heart, and you could be...
A crow. I mean, a raven.
A raven. Yeah, look at you lacking.
I am a huge fan of Poe. We are also huge fans of costumes. I spent a lot of years making them costumes, and so at the end of this episode we're going to talk about our favorite ones. Ooh. And then you can pop some pictures into the Instagram page,
beautiful, which
you can find at Making History Podcast on Instagram. So this is our sorry, I'll have to cut that out.
Oh my gosh.
I'm very excited about this topic. To reintroduce, I know we have a lot of new YouTube subscribers on the Pin Cut Sew channel, so this might be a surprise to you if you're new to Pin Cut Sew, that we also have a monthly podcast, me and Layla. And this is where we discuss topics, historical topics about crafting, sewing, quilting, all kinds of things like that. It's been so much fun. This is our first year, and then next year we have big plans to do twice a month instead of once a month. And I think that's good enough for an introduction.
Yeah,
let's jump into this topic. This one is so fun, and I learned so much. Layla's been dying to talk about one half of this topic.
I'm so excited.
Today we're going to talk about friendship quilts and funeral quilts. So interesting. I learned so much. I think most of our episodes have been around the World Wars, World War I and World War II. This one goes back further. I think this might be the oldest topic we've discussed. This one goes back to the Civil War, or known as the War Between the States. It's called many different things. I'm probably just going to call it the Civil War, even though I know that's might not be correct. I don't know. There's a lot of debate about the war between the states and what we should call it. I didn't know that till I moved to the South and I was educated. Okay, so let's get started though, talking about friendship quilts. What do you imagine that friendship quilts are, Layla?
A quilt that everybody quilts together, and everyone makes a block, and then they all put their friendship quilt together.
Oh, interesting. That is a form of friendship quilt, like a group quilt. And people still do that. But the OG friendship quilt is so much fun because it was kind of a trend. Like now we have Instagram trends. They had trends the same way that we do now. These friendship quilts started to come about in the 1840s. And what they were was one person would make it, but it had blocks that all of their friends had signed.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then they would take those signatures and put them into a quilt.
Oh.
But before the 1830s and 40s, they had trouble finding an ink that worked on fabric.
Oh, I thought they were like embroidering it.
Well, they did.
That would make sense.
So they did for a long time. They would embroider or they would cross stitch. And this was just part of a girl's education at the time. So they were really good at it.
Yeah. Well,
really
at a lot of antique stores, you'll see those cross-stitched alphabets. And like the better your stitch writing was, like the better you were or whatever.
Yeah, they took great pride in it.
Yeah.
And they were good at it.
They were really good
Those
at it.
cross-stitch things you're talking about, those are called samplers. And those were like their practice.
Yeah.
Which their practice blows my
Yeah.
my final versions out of the water. Okay, so they would use their embroidery skills and their cross-stitch skills to make things for their hope chest. You have a hope chest, right?
I have a hope bin. It's a fabric bin.
Yeah, Layla, I feel like a year or two ago, she discovered the concept of a hope chest.
They're so cute.
And she wanted one. She doesn't have an actual chest. Like my mom had a
No.
cedar chest.
I don't have the space in my room for it. But if I did, I would have one.
Yeah, but she
100%.
still wanted to start collecting things for her future homemaking.
Yeah, so I have pretty much exclusively Christmas decor and trays. In there, which is very fun.
No doilies? I have some doilies you can
No,
have.
my doilies are out and about. They're living up their best life.
That's
so.
right. Those will go with you anyway.
Yeah.
So until the 1840s, like I said, the inks that they were making, remember at the time they were still writing with like goose feather pens and they would dip it in the ink, but the ink all had lead in it and it would, no, not lead, iron.
Oh.
It's not so lead-based ink. It had iron in it. And so it would disintegrate fabrics over time. It would yellow with age and it would fade and wash out. So it didn't work on like fabric. But then in France in the 1830s, someone finally perfected and put out or filed for a patent for an indelible ink that actually lasted on fabric. It did not have the iron in it. It was made from silver nitrate, ammonia, and lamp black.
Ammonia?
Yeah. I imagine lamp black is literally like soot from lamps, maybe, to make it black.
Yeah.
That makes sense, right?
Yeah.
And this ink did not wash out. It did not fade. It was perfect for fabric.
Okay, y'all.
And it really kind of revolutionized the world. And then, of course, true American fashion, someone else copied him and filed an American patent, and that's how it came to America.
Love.
And then at the time, quills also changed from feather pens to like solid metal pens.
Yeah.
This took a long time for the older generation to adopt. They really wanted their feathers. This was a matter of great debate.
Well, they're already killing the chicken. Why not take a feather for a pen?
You mean the goose?
The goose.
Wasn't the goose almost the American, like,
No,
Or was
it was
that the
almost,
turkey?
It was a turkey. Benjamin Franklin wanted the turkey to be the American bird.
and now we eat them for Thanksgiving?
One time I convinced my brother Kelby that we killed a goose every year for Thanksgiving. I had him on the hook for like 20 minutes.
He was older than you would think, too.
He was older.
It's embarrassing.
It was embarrassing. It was really funny though.
Okay, so with the invention of this new indelible ink, the women, the girls, this was very much a young practice.
Cute.
They started writing on their quilt blocks instead of embroidering them, and they would pass them out to their friends to write their names on.
Oh.
And another factor here with the trending thing is the women's magazines. And we've talked about this in the episode about the pattern history, paper patterns, and how much those women's magazines influenced culture across the United States. And so once this kind of trending topic was in these women's magazines, it sort of spread. Think of it as the social media of its day because everyone was doing it. It was the cool thing. It was the young girls thing to do. And these quilts, they wouldn't have just anybody's name. They didn't really have like their family members' names, and they didn't have any men's names on them either. This was like a girly thing
Girl
to do.
thing, yes.
So they would have their girlfriend sign it. Sometimes they would include like a cute little brother who's like a toddler or whatever.
Yeah.
Sometimes. But it was very much like a friendship memory quilt. And also at the time was the romanticization. How do you say that word?
Romanticization. Yeah, it was
Right.
romanticization.
Of friendship.
Aww.
And I think it's really cute. The first thing I thought of was the Anne of Green Gables book series.
Cute.
Because her and Diana, you know, they're bosom friends, and they would write poetry to each other. And that's the first thing I thought of.
Yeah.
And it is like era appropriate because I think Anne of Green Gables was in the 1870s.
Cute.
And these friendship quilts did expand from about the 1840s up to the turn of the century in popularity. And they were also very, very into poetry. And I don't think I knew this about, I mean, I should have known, but I didn't think about everyday people writing poetry to each other back and forth.
Really?
Do you think poetry is still fashionable?
Fashionable?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really? I guess I'm just not running in the right circles.
Yeah, well, like especially online, like Substack, people post poetry on
Okay,
Substack and
that's
Wattpad
true.
and like all that stuff.
That's true. Yeah.
I think it's so cool.
I think writing poetry makes you pretty vulnerable because it's usually about feelings.
Yeah,
Or it's flowery.
yeah.
Yeah.
Back when I took a writing class, it was your writing class. No, it wasn't. I don't know, but we learned about haikus.
Yeah, that was my class.
That was your class?
I taught creative writing
Yeah.
in our homeschool co-op.
And I remember like the haikus that you like gave us were very like
Silly.
no, they were like emotional.
Oh,
some
they
of them.
were?
And then I wrote one about like a shrimp. And then like I wrote one about like a gummy bear or something. Like I was not.
I'm sure the ones I
The
read to
emotional
you,
side.
I didn't write those.
No, like you gave
They were just in a
examples.
book, yeah. But I tend to, when I write poetry for classes like that, it's always like limericks and funny stories.
Yeah. Like I'm never.
Like Ogden Nash, he wrote funny poems.
Oh, I haven't heard of him.
You would remember if I read you one.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're getting a little bit off topic.
Sorry.
So a lot of these quilts too would have full-on poetry. Oh, and the precursor to the quilts though was the popularity of autograph books. Have you heard of those?
Vaguely, like at Disney.
Yeah. So these magazines had a lot of like sometimes like cut out poems and things you could cut out and put in your basically kind of like a scrapbook, like a junk journal we would call it now. But ladies, they would collect each other's like poems and autographs in their little autograph books.
Oh, that's cute.
It was so cute.
Yeah, that's cute.
And that sort of segued into the friendship quilts. So then they would have their friends sign or write a poem or something on a scrap of fabric, and then they would eventually incorporate those fabrics into their quilt blocks.
That's cute.
Yeah, but it started with the autograph books, and I wish that we could bring those back because that sounds really fun.
Yeah, that does sound fun. But now like Instagram's just an autographed book.
That's true, but it's not like...
It's not as close knit.
Yeah. We just don't get together in person as much as they used to, I think.
No.
We were discussing yesterday, what did people do to pass time before there were like books? I'm talking like old, way before books. We imagine they would just like tell stories and play games.
Yeah.
I was thinking about it because okay, segue. In Bible times, when women were on their periods, they just got to go away to a tent by themselves. Not by themselves, with other women.
Yeah.
And they didn't have to do any of the household things during that time. And I just like, why did we end that?
Yeah, why? Where did that go, y'all?
And I don't know why I was thinking about that, but I think about it often because it would be so nice.
It would be nice.
I was like, what did they do to entertain themselves, though? They didn't have books, or maybe they
had their girlfriends,
scrolls. Yeah, they had their friends.
Yeah,
I'm sure they played a bunch of games and just
also,
chatted.
Like the Bible.
That's true. They had it like
I'm sure
written
they had
down on
books.
scrolls.
Yeah.
They might have had
some
something to
semblance.
read.
But like cavemen.
Well,
were
they
out
had
there.
writings on the caves, so maybe writing has always been a form of entertainment.
Yeah, who knows?
Anyway. Okay, so these friendship quilts were a natural segue from the autograph books. They were sometimes also called album quilts.
Cute.
And the patterns really vary greatly. Obviously, they have to have some kind of center light colored fabric so that the signatures would show up, of course. Some ladies like to make all the blocks and then have their friends sign them, which could be risky because they might mess up.
Oh.
And some women would have them sign the scrap or the squares and then incorporate them into quilts. That's what I would do in case they messed up.
Yeah.
Some people would hire out somebody who had really beautiful writing to write all of the names. So they would collect the names and verses from their friends and then have somebody copy them onto the fabric so they all looked uniform. That's what Natalie would do. Although she would handwrite it herself. She's good at that.
She would, yeah.
And then some people had them mailed to them. Like sign this and send it back to me. And this was a time in history where there was a lot of migration within the U.S. because of the war. Some people moved north because they couldn't get on board with the South's vision of the wartime, or vice versa. Some people would move to the South for the same reason. And also it was a time of great exploration into the west of the U.S. So people would leave behind their friends and family forever. Like one girl got married and her husband wanted to jet out west. And back then when you left, you were just prepared not to ever see your family again.
Yeah.
And another sad thing about the time is that, and as I was reading about these stories, the book I read for this episode is called Remember Me, Women and Their Friendship Quilts by Linda Otto Lipset. And it was so good. And she tells the story of these friendship quilts, but then she includes like, I think about 7 actual stories of women. She's gotten her eyes on these quilts and been able to research the history of these women. But the thing that that really struck me was how much loss people suffered back then. They really, like, death was so prevalent.
Yeah.
They would lose so many children and siblings and spouses because of the war. Like almost everybody lost their spouse in this book.
Oh.
And so I just think that was really sad. The death thing will come back in the second half of this episode, which is what you're more excited about, I think.
I'm not excited about death. Just to clarify.
Okay, so the reason so many of these quilts still survive compared to like the more utilitarian quilts is because they were meant to be keepsakes and not to be actually used, which really worked out for us historically because There's so many that are still in great
Mhm.
condition. And in this book, there's some beautiful photos of the ones that she's discussing. So we'll pop some of those photos onto the Instagram page, and so you can see them. But it's very cool because because they weren't to be used, really, they weren't super densely quilted. They weren't finished as like sturdily, I guess, as a quilt that was going to be used and used and used.
Yeah.
And a lot of those older quilts are in such tatters, but these friendship quilts, so many of them survive because they were treasure keepsakes. Okay, let's take a quick break before we move on to the more macabre side of this friendship and funerals quilts topic. As you may have noticed, this podcast is free of sponsorships, meaning I'm not taking this break to read advertisements to you. That's not how I'm choosing to support myself doing this type of work for now. So that said, if you're enjoying this podcast and you would like to offer your support, there are a couple great ways you can do that. First, if you're into sewing and quilting or want to get into sewing or quilting, you can go over and watch my YouTube channel at Pin Cut Sew. And you can visit my pattern shop where I offer beginner-friendly PDF sewing patterns and tutorials, some fun sewing-related stickers, and even a few fun quilting books I've written. Go to www.pincutsewstudio.com/shop or find me on Etsy as Pincut Sew. Another thing you can do is to leave a 5-star review on this podcast. Reviews go a long way in helping podcasts be presented to more listeners. So if you're enjoying this, I would so appreciate you taking the time to leave a quick positive review. Lastly, and perhaps most tangibly, you can simply donate to the Making History podcast by going to www.buymeacoffee.com/pincutsew and gift us a little something there. And I do indeed promise to take Layla out to coffee. All of these links will be in the show notes below. So let's get back to the show. Okay, let's move on to funeral quilts. Layla is obsessed with funeral quilts.
I'm not obsessed, but like I want one, you know?
She just thinks they're cool. What do you
think
think's
they're
cool
cool.
about them?
I think it's cool because it's like, it's a family tree,
Oh, that's true.
you know? But it's like, I don't know. I think it like the excitement of like, I don't want to say the excitement of dying, but like, oh, this family member has moved on to a better place and now I get to put their name on my graveyard quilt, you know?
Yeah, it's a memory.
Or my funeral quilt.
So the most famous funeral quilt I actually stumbled upon in this giant quilt book I got at a used bookstore called America's Glorious Quilts. You can find used copies of it. I absolutely love looking through it. I'm so glad I bought it. It was like $7. But in it, there's this very famous funeral quilt, also called memorial quilt. And the center of the quilt, it's all in brown tones. Most of them were. This is very much a Victorian/Appalachian American tradition. And you know, the Victorians were kind of obsessed with the macabre and spirituality and the afterlife and seances and things. So you can see why they thought this was like fun.
Yeah.
Some people today, I think, would find it a little bit morbid. But again, they were so much more used to death than we are.
Yeah. Also, it's like the same as like a graveyard.
Yeah,
I don't know. Like,
well, graveyards actually came into fashion. I put fashion in air quotes.
well, at Cave Hill in Louisville, sometimes you'll walk by like the newer section of graves, and there are some graves that like the person's not dead yet, but they have their tombstone.
That's right.
And like their pictures on it and their birth year and everything, but like they're not. So I don't think it's much
Yeah, you're right.
different.
Much
I
different.
don't know. I don't find it super weird.
I don't either, but I've always loved graveyards. Some people really think that's weird and creepy, but we visit our historic graveyard all the time and go there for photo shoots and everything. It's just so beautiful. It's such a beautiful piece of history. So these quilts, to explain them further, usually they would have like a large graveyard-like plot in the middle. They were pretty literal. Instead of like various, like a quilt block being made over and over, they would have a graveyard in the middle. And then in the most famous version, which is a Kentucky quilt from 1843 made by Elizabeth Roseberry Mitchell. And you can find pictures of that all over the internet because it's the most famous surviving funeral quilt. But she made little coffin shapes that she then embroidered her family's names on, and she hand basted them to the borders of this quilt. And then when that person passed away, she would embroider the date and she would move that and applique it into the center graveyard. Isn't that crazy?
It's cool.
So a lot of women made these quilts, and then they were often draped over the coffin at the funeral. I imagine sometimes they were buried with the person who made them. Yeah. And then they were kept by family members. And so we'll pop a picture of this Kentucky one up onto the Instagram page, but you can also just look it up. It's a very famous quilt. And I first saw it in this America's Glorious Quilts book and thought it was super cool. You can actually get a free, I wrote it down. Who has it? Oh, there's a website called incolororder.com. She's a quilter. She has a free little coffin block
that's
template.
cute.
So, Layla, when you make your funeral quilt,
When I make my funeral quilt, here we
Layla
go.
wants to make a quilt.
I want to make one, but I don't sew.
Yes, you do.
I don't know how to quilt though.
Well, you edit all of my videos.
You're so right.
You
You're
know
so
more
right.
than you think. Also, at the state fair last month, she noticed there's a first
Yeah.
quilt category.
Maybe I'll make a graveyard quilt and enter it as my first graveyard or my first quilt. At
Yeah,
the fair.
I wonder what the feedback would be.
We'll see.
Sometimes
We'll
they're a
see.
little snarky about things at the fair. Anyway, I would love to see you make a quilt, but also a funeral
I'll try.
quilt.
Can you help me?
Don't put my name on there. No, you can. It's fine.
What? I'm gonna put your name on there.
I guess I do find it just a tad creepy.
I don't
when
think
I'm
it's
really
creepy.
thinking
I'm gonna put
about
my
it.
name on there.
Yeah, okay.
Then when I die, it's your job to move me into the graveyard.
Oh boy. Okay, while I was researching for this topic, I came across this website about burial quilts, and this is a modern business. This person, and I assume there's other businesses, they will make you a quilt. Okay, so this is part of the movement of, like, I guess a more sustainable burial. And instead of being buried in a coffin, you can have a quilt made for you, and then your body is laid on a board, and you are wrapped basically like the Egyptians used to wrap onto a board. Not like a
Okay.
mummy, but you're wrapped in this quilt
Yeah.
and corded to the board, and that is how you are buried. And because everything then becomes biodegradable, and basically your body returns to the earth, is what this website is saying. So who knew that burial quilts are a thing today?
Yeah.
Not just funeral quilts, but like quilts to be buried in. What do you think about that?
What if they have to like dig you back up?
Like you've been murdered and they have to
Yeah, or like what if
in
I don't know.
what do they call it? Disinterment?
I don't know.
Is that what
I
they
don't
call
know.
it? When
I
they have to
no
dig
idea.
up a body for like research purposes? I don't know.
I don't know. That sounds right. But also, like, I feel like in 100 years, someone's going to be, like, digging in their backyard and find someone wrapped in a quilt. Like, the authorities will be called, you know? Like, if it was a coffin, it's like, oh, yeah.
Like this was a legitimate. Well,
Yeah.
they are, I guess also on the website it was saying like if your funeral home has not like is not prepared for this kind of burial, here's where you can get like the board or whatever. But I'm like, why can't you just make a plywood board? I don't know.
Yeah, also, like, why wouldn't they just start making coffins out of plywood?
Well,
Are they saying the
did
wood is
historically.
biodegradable?
Yes.
Why wouldn't they just start making coffins out of biodegradable
Also, if
wood?
you're being buried in a graveyard, it's not like anything else is going to be buried there. You'll still have a tombstone. So you're
Yeah.
still taking up space. I'm not sure. Maybe
No, I don't see
somebody
it.
can
Yeah.
shed light on this in the email. You can email us at makinghistorypodcast@yahoo.com. You can email us all kinds of pictures that are related to these topics. We've received so many, and we do ask your permission to put them on the Instagram page because sometimes they're really fun. So people have sent us pictures of them in their Gunny Sacks dresses or their Miss Piggy costume, or just lengthy emails about like from people who are more educated on these topics than I am, and those have been really fun to read. Or topic suggestions. We've gotten some very good suggestions and we have put them on the list. So thanks for that. makinghistorypodcast@yahoo.com. We're going to move on to the next segment.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I want to talk about costumes for a minute because I made all of the kids' costumes from the time they were tiny until very recent years when they stopped wearing them. Or now we just have a bin of them that we can dig out and find something like this.
Like that.
Oh, speaking of this, I forgot to even like say anything about Betsy Ross. I think this would, when I learned a little bit about her this morning, I was like, wow, this would be a fun topic because we're not actually positive that she is behind the colonial 13 stars flag.
Oh.
Because her story wasn't documented until 34 years after her death, but it was documented by her son. Her story was told. So unless he was just pulling that out of who knows where,
He was procrastinating.
it is kind of accepted as true. Or maybe she didn't want it to be written down.
Big thing.
I don't know. So it is widely accepted while also being widely debated if Betsy Ross really did meet with George Washington and those other guys to design the flag with them.
Interesting.
But nevertheless, they do believe that she actually sewed it. I
Yeah,
think
she was in Hamilton. And
she
Hamilton's
was
true.
in Hamilton. Yes. If it's in Hamilton, it must be
It
true.
must be true.
But this is if you are not in the U.S., this represents the 13 American colonies in 1776, right?
Yeah.
But don't these represent the colonies now?
No, they do.
I guess I need to learn more about the American flag.
7.
Yeah.
Maybe it's dual meaning. She was like, I predict we're gonna have 50 states later, so I'm just
gonna leave
put
space
these here. And, yeah.
Yeah. I know the red, white, and the blue colors signify things too, but I'll save it for the episode we might do on flags because I thought it was really interesting.
Next time we'll come dressed as which of the Spice Girls wore the? Oh, she wore the British flag.
Yeah, that's not the same.
Okay. Never mind.
But you could do
mind.
the 13 Colonies version of the Spice Girls.
Yeah. Or I could go like full like 2013 Tumblr and wear one of those American flag shirts that's like super long. You know?
Don't know.
We'll dress up. We'll dress up.
Okay. So Layla, I want you to tell the audience some of your favorite costumes I made you.
Okay.
I
let me remember. Let me remember them. Hang on.
Okay. My favorite was your Merida costume.
I loved that costume.
That's probably the most accurate costume I've ever made.
I looked gorgeous. That's the year I got a hickey on my forehead from the bow and arrow.
Okay, so at the Disney store you could buy Merida's bow and arrow, and they were suction cup
cups.
arrows, and she stuck one to her forehead and gave herself a hickey.
Totally
Forgot about that.
Not my finest moment, but that's okay. But I loved that costume. We continued to wear it, like me and my friends, when we played dress up.
Yeah.
That was a popular one.
That was the fun part of making all those costumes for you guys, is that they got used and used and used.
Yeah.
And so when I made them, I finished the insides of those things like I didn't finish anything else because I knew they were going to be used.
Yeah. I love our cupcake costumes.
Yes. So when they were
Cute.
toddlers,
Cute.
Natalie and Layla, Kelby was born too. Him and I went as cowgirl that year. I had a Pottery Barn catalog and they had the cutest cupcake costumes and I replicated them. And then for years on those pictures were on my blog for years. People were asking if they could buy them from me. I think I finally did mail one to somebody that I knew who wanted it.
Yeah. Those were so cute.
Both. Yeah.
Yeah. I liked my Ray costume too. That wasn't for Halloween, but for May
Star
the
Wars
4th.
Day.
Yeah. She made me
You went to a party.
Ray's. Yeah, to a party. She made me raise like her pants and then her wrap top and everything.
That was good.
I felt very cool.
That was good. I did also make Kelby a dinosaur costume when he was young, and he wore that thing for like 2 years every single day.
That one was sick.
It had a big stuffed tail. It was like a
yeah.
fleece onesie. He was little.
Yeah, we'd step on the tail in here.
It's mean. What else? I made Natalie some really great costumes too.
Her Audrey Hepburn one was one of my favorites.
That was a
Super
good one.
pretty.
She was one of the My Fair Lady outfits. That one was good.
So pretty.
I impressed myself with that one.
Yeah, and she they used a placemat,
Like a straw placemat.
like a straw placemat, and then they put a rest around it, and then those like fake grapes.
Yeah, we put
sick.
the flowers and grapes on it, and then tied it with a ribbon onto her head.
It was cute.
That was a good costume.
It was a really good costume.
Yeah, I think those are my favorites, but we'll put up pictures on the Instagram page.
Yeah,
For sure.
I liked my jazzercise one too.
Oh my
you
gosh.
just helped me with that.
Oh, this
but,
is funny because she went as a 80s exercise person. And to this day, that is one of my most popular pins on Pinterest.
Really?
Ever.
I'm honored.
In all seasons. I'm like, why is this still in my top 10 pins?
It was a cool costume.
It was.
Like, we thrifted, I think most of it, except for we had bought like leg warmers and wrap.
It was like hot pink and teal.
It was funny.
And I think it's because of the photo shoot we did.
Yeah.
Because if you don't know, my other hobby is photography. And so part of the fun of making these was the photographing them.
Yeah.
So when we lived in Virginia, so maybe that was like, not Virginia,
Utah.
North Carolina. We've lived in a lot of places.
No, I think it was Utah.
No, I'm talking about something else.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
The pumpkin skirt I made Natalie.
Yes.
So we'll put a picture of this too, because there was this old black and white vintage photo. Because back in the like 30s, 20s, 30s, 40s, Halloween wasn't the costumey thing we think it is now. It was more like a elevated
Dress up spooky.
yes
kind of vibe.
And so there's this picture of this woman in like a 50s style skirt with big jack-o'-lanterns all the way around it.
It's so pretty.
And I replicated that skirt for Natalie, and then we had the coolest photo shoot.
Yeah.
I love that skirt. I still have it.
Yeah. I think because the art school that I work for does live model drawing.
Yes, will you wear that?
I think he might need me to model tomorrow. And if he does, I'm going to wear it. So, very
Yes. Okay,
excited.
let's get it out today though, because Natalie, she's very small waisted.
tiny.
And if I need to alter it,
Yeah.
although you're really small waisted too, but this was a few years ago when she might have been even smaller.
She was younger. Yeah.
So let's get it out
We'll
and I'll
see.
alter
Okay.
it. And then we can show everybody.
okay.
I love talking about costumes.
Yeah.
This is fun. Okay, so now lastly, we need your help with something. I mentioned the email address. Our December episode, I want to do an episode about the weirdest and wackiest Christmas crafts. And so I would love for you to send me, I'm talking like the crazy stuff, like the crocheted Santa Claus toilet covers, that kind of thing. I would love for you to email us your experiences, or pictures would be even better,
Pictures
of weird Christmas crafts, or quilts or whatever, because I think that will make such a funny episode. And we need to start preparing for that. So if you have some stories or ideas for that one, please email those to makinghistorypodcast@yahoo.com. And we will see you next month.
Bye.
Bye.